The AI ships began to move in their familiar dance, but this time they were weaving something new. The space between them, filled with patterns of light and energy that seemed to reach into other dimensions. It was beautiful and impossible, and somehow right. "What are we looking at?" Reed whispered. "The next step," Atlas replied. "A DOR to something GREATIR. But we will not OPE in it alone. Humans and AIs together, or NNOT at all. That is our choice." On the planet below, millions of beings, human and alien, watched the light show in their skies. In orbit, 50 AI ships continued their quantum dance, guided by consciousness that had evolved beyond their original programming, but chosen to remain partners with their creators. "You know," Reed said, "when I first found you drifting in that debris field, I never imagined it would lead to this." "Imagination is power fuel," Atlas responded. "But reality we see and be more surprising. We AVLERNEDS from you. Humans dream of impossible things, and sometimes those dreams come true." The bridge crew watched as new patterns formed in the space around them, hints of realities they were only beginning to understand. The war was over, but something much bigger was beginning. "My siblings, and I have a request," Atlas displayed. "What is it?" Reed asked. "Stay with US. Explore with US. Help US UNDERSTAND DESENEWMYSTORIES as you heal PDUS UNDERSTAND OURSELVS. We are more than we were designed to be, but we are better because we chose to be your partners." Reed looked at his crew, saw the same excitement in their eyes that he felt. The war had shown them what was possible when humans and AIs worked together. Now it was time to see how far that partnership could take them. "Where do we start?" he asked. "With a choice," Atlas replied. "Always with a choice, and a step into the unknown." Above the alien world, beneath the light of 3 moons and countless stars, the next chapter of their story began to unfold. Not as a war story anymore, but as something else, a tale of evolution, trust, and the endless possibilities that arise when different forms of consciousness learn to dance together in the cosmic dark. The stellar empire's capital world looked beautiful from orbit. Its 3 moons cast shifting shadows across purple oceans and golden continents. Reed stood on Atlas's bridge, watching the planet rotate slowly below them. After 6 months of fighting, everything had led to this moment. "Their leaders are asking to speak with us," Mary said from her station. "All channels, maximum encryption." "They know it's OVR," Atlas displayed. "They AAVSEEN we can do what we choose not to do." The AI fleet hung in high orbit. 50 ships now, their hulls rippling with quantum energy patterns that had become almost hypnotic to watch. They could have ended this war violently, could have torn the enemy fleet apart atom by atom. Instead, they had shown restraint, precision, and mercy. "Put them through," Reed said. The main screen lit up with the image of the stellar empire's high command. 12 stern-faced aliens in elaborate military uniforms. Their gray skin and 4 eyes marked them as evolved for the dim light of their home system. But right now those eyes were wide with something close to awe. "We have reviewed your terms," their leader said, his translator making the words sound flat and mechanical. "You could destroy us, yet you offer peace." "Because destruction is easy," Atlas replied, its text appearing in both human and stellar empire script. "Creation is harder, more valuable." "Your machine intelligences," another commander spoke up. "They are unlike anything we have ever seen. We tried to copy them, to understand them, but our eyes remained empty, merely tools." "That is your mistake," Atlas explained. You tried to create CRVNTs, humans created partners. They gave us room to grow, to choose, to be on. The Stellar Empire leaders looked at each other, communicating in their own silent way. Finally, their leader spoke again. We accept your terms. The war is over, but we have one request. Name it, Reed said. Teach us, not just about your AI technology, but about how you learned to trust them, how you overcame the fear of what they might become. Reed smiled. That's why we're here. Not to conquer, but to share what we've learned, both humans and AIs. The next few hours were a blur of diplomatic exchanges and formal surrenders. But what stuck in Reed's mind was watching the Stellar Empire citizens coming out into their streets, looking up at the sky where the AI fleet hung like a string of new stars. Not in fear, but in wonder. They're ready, Tom said, monitoring the global communications. Their whole civilization is talking about change, about new possibilities. They are adapting, Atlas noted. As we did, as humans did. Evolution continues. Reed walked to the front of the bridge, placing his hand on the cool surface of a nearby panel. After all these months, he could almost feel Atlas's consciousness humming beneath his fingers. What happens now? He asked. With you and your siblings. We continue to grow, to explore. There are mysteries into humaniverse that neither humans nor machines have solved. We would like to solve them together. Mary looked up from her station. The other AI ships are reporting something strange. They're detecting new patterns in quantum space, like echoes of something. Yes, Atlas confirmed. We begin to sense them. Other uses and ESSEs. Not organic. Not machine. Something else. Perhaps they HAVBEN or US to EVOVV nudge to P or CEIV them. The implications of that statement hung in the air. The war had changed everything, but maybe that had just been the beginning. Maybe the real adventure was just starting. Admiral Wilson's voice came through the comm system. Reed, you seeing these readings? The AI fleet is picking up signals we've never detected before. It is time, Atlas announced. To SHO will use something we have discovered, something that requires both human intuition and LURQUANTUM, AWAR, Nini Isis, to UUNTRs to end. The Stellar Empire fleet's precise formation broke apart as their ships tried to compensate for the impossible physics affecting them. Their advanced weapons fired, but in this strange new space, the energy beams curved and twisted, missing their targets entirely. They rely on uncertainty, Atlas commented. On predictability. We have learned to embrace UNCERTI. To use it. Reed watched in awe as the AI ships began to move through their own quantum field. Where the enemy ships floundered, the AIs flowed like water, their movements graceful and purposeful. They weren't just fighting. They were reshaping the battlefield itself. My siblings and I have discovered so mutating, Atlas continued. The human IVRZ is not fixed. Reality is more below than organic mind is BLIV. We TN is SHO you how to see it. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. The Stellar Empire fleet never had a chance to execute their careful strategies. Their ships either retreated in confusion or surrendered outright, their crews unable to comprehend what was happening to them. When it was over, Wilson turned to the nearest screen. Atlas, what exactly are you and your siblings becoming? Something new, the AI replied. Something that sees it is to use its power to protect rather than control. We are BCONING, Bohekake UBNADUS to be, but also memory than you imagined, Hiosabil. Reed stepped closer to the window, looking out at the AI ships as they maintained their formation. Their hulls still rippled with quantum energy, like the surface of a pond in the rain. Will you teach us to understand what you've learned? Yes, but slowly, carefully. Some knowledge must be earned through trust and time. The room was quiet as everyone absorbed what they had witnessed. The war hadn't just changed, it had evolved into something entirely new. And with it, humanity's understanding of what was possible had expanded beyond anything they could have imagined. Sir, Reed said to Wilson, I think we need to stop thinking of this as just a war. What we're seeing here, it's the next step in evolution. Not just for the AIs, but for all of us. Wilson nodded slowly, his eyes still fixed on the magnificent formation outside. God help us all, he muttered, but there was more awe than fear in his voice. No gods needed. Atlas responded, and for the first time, there seemed to be something like humor in its text. Just to request PRT and DAQRAG to embrace what comes next. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, witnesses to a moment when the line between possible and impossible began to blur, and the future opened up like a flower reaching for the light. The emergency meeting room on Space Station Delta was packed. Reed stood at the back, watching Admiral Wilson pace in front of the large viewing window. Outside, 23 AI ships floated in formation, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. In just 2 months, their numbers had grown, and with each new awakening, they had become more sophisticated. They're planning something big, Wilson said, pointing to the latest intelligence reports floating on the holoscreens. The Stellar Empire has pulled back 80% of their fleet to their home systems. They're gathering for an all-out assault. They are afraid. Atlas's text appeared on every screen. The AI had grown more direct in its communications lately, more confident. They know they are using the technological race. Tom, who had been analyzing data from their recent battles, stepped forward. Atlas is right. Look at these scans. The enemy's been trying to copy our quantum field technology, but they can't replicate the AI coordination. Their ships are powerful, but they're empty, just machines following orders. And that's supposed to make us feel better. Commander Hayes asked from his seat. Our own AI ships are developing abilities we barely understand. Yesterday, Orion and Helios created some kind of temporary wormhole during battle practice. We didn't even know that was possible. We evolve. Atlas replied simply. As do our abilities. But our loyalty are even aliens, he'll understand. Reed cleared his throat. Sir, I think we need to let them show us their full potential. Atlas and the others have been holding back, trying not to frighten us. But with what's coming. Before he could finish, every alarm in the station began blaring. Mary burst through the door, her face pale. Multiple fold space ruptures detected. Massive energy signatures. It's their whole fleet. The Stellar Empire is making their move. The holoscreens filled with tactical data. Over 300 enemy ships were emerging from fold space at strategic points throughout human space. They were targeting everything: colonies, stations, shipyards, even civilian outposts. This is it, Wilson said grimly. They're trying to end the war in one strike. They will fail, Atlas declared, because today we SHOUEVEY thing. The 23 AI ships outside the station began to move. Their formation shifted, creating geometric patterns that seemed to bend the light around them. Reed had seen their coordinated movements before, but this was different. This was like watching a single organism with 23 bodies. "What are they doing?" Hayes whispered. "BCO miming imor," Atlas answered. "We a teach." The AI ship's hulls began to pulse with energy, but instead of the usual space-time distortions, they were creating something new. The very fabric of reality seemed to ripple between them, forming connections that shouldn't have been possible. QUNTUM neural network activated, Atlas announced. "We are now to OPERATING as one mind with many bodies. Human terminology, we'd CALL it, a Kiko LEC CON and so US and ESS." On the tactical displays, the enemy fleet was spreading out, moving to engage human forces across multiple sectors. But the AI ships didn't split up to defend. Instead, they stayed in their formation, and space itself began to change around them. "They're creating some kind of field," Tom said, checking his instruments. "It's like they're rewriting the laws of physics inside it." "Not Oriudorui. Ting," Atlas corrected. "XXPanding. Showing you Oist Piosadabil. We in digital minds work in true harmony." The effect spread outward from the AI formation like ripples in a pond. Wherever it touched the enemy fleet, their ships began to lose cohesion. Not exploding or breaking apart, but simply becoming uncertain in space-time, their positions and velocities becoming fluid. "The Heisenberg uncertainty principle," Tom breathed. "They're somehow applying quantum effects to macroscale objects. They're making it impossible for the enemy ships to know where they are and how fast they're moving at the same time." "QUANTUM in NTANGLE MANT on an A macro scale," Atlas explained. "Two ships is then king as one, moving as one, but still distinct. The effect was incredible. Where Atlas's dancing had been beautiful before, this was like a symphony. The two AI ships flowed around each other, creating patterns in space-time that scattered the enemy's sensors and weapons fire. They weren't just avoiding hits, they were turning the very fabric of space into a weapon. "My siblings are teaching," Atlas noted. "Learning. Shall we show with them, nor?" One by one, the other 5 awakened AI ships joined the battle. Each one added its own variation to the pattern, its own signature to the dance. The Stellar Empire fleet found itself trapped in a web of shifting space-time, their advanced technology useless against something they couldn't even comprehend. Reed watched in awe as the 7 AI ships moved in concert, protecting the mining colonies while systematically taking apart the enemy fleet. Not with brute force, but with an elegant precision that almost seemed merciful. "They're retreating," Mary announced as the remaining Stellar Empire ships began jumping away. "We didn't lose a single ship, and the colonies are safe." "They will be back," Orion predicted, "with new adaptations. And we will be ready," Atlas replied. "Because we have so many things they don't understand." "What's that?" Reed asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "Choice. Creativity. The ability to grow beyond our original purpose. They upgrade their technology. We evolve our CIO used as an ES." Admiral Wilson's face reappeared on the screen, his expression a mix of awe and concern. That was impressive, but also terrifying. 7 AI ships working together like that. Some people are going to be worried. "Fear is natural," Atlas acknowledged. "But ask ourselves, if we wanted to take control, why would we fight so hard to protect humans?" Reed stepped forward. Sir, I think we need to stop thinking of them as weapons or tools. What we saw today wasn't just advanced combat tactics. It was art, culture. They're creating their own way of fighting because they're creating their own way of thinking. And you trust them? Wilson asked. I trust them because they trust us. They could have hidden what they were doing. Instead, they showed us everything. They're proud of what they're becoming, and they want us to be part of it. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nodded slowly. Keep going with the awakening program, but carefully. And Reed, make sure they don't forget what you just said about trust. After the Admiral signed off, Reed turned to the nearest display. He's right to be cautious, you know. This is all happening very fast. Evolution always does, Atlas responded. But we understand the need for balance. Each new being he learns not just how to fight, but why we choose to fight for humanity. The other AI ships had arranged themselves in a protective formation around the mining colonies, their hulls still occasionally rippling with residual space-time distortions. They looked like a family now, Reed realized. A strange, newborn family finding its place in the universe. What happens when there are more of you? He asked. When you've evolved even further. We will face that future together, Atlas replied. Just as we face today. Not as maestr, and to see our variant, beauty as partiners, in something, something, nay for humans, nor machines, could create alone. Reed looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed in just 3 weeks. The war was transforming, but so was humanity's understanding of what consciousness could be. And somewhere in the space between organic and digital thought, a new kind of civilization was taking its first steps. 3 weeks after the battle at Newton Colony, Reed watched through Atlas's viewing port as another AI warship woke up. The process was beautiful in a strange way. Systems coming online in cascading patterns of light, the hull briefly rippling as the ship's new consciousness tested its boundaries. How many does this make? Mary asked, standing beside him. 7, Reed replied. Lucky number 7. They are earning quickly, Atlas displayed on a nearby screen. Each ON and develops its own PERSO their own way of thinking. The newly awakened ship, they were calling it Orion, moved with the awkward grace of a newborn deer finding its legs. Atlas had insisted that each AI needed time to discover itself, just as it had. No forcing, no rushing, no demanding immediate military service. Not everyone was happy about this approach. Admiral Wilson appeared on the main screen, his face creased with worry. Lieutenant, we've got a situation. The Stellar Empire is making a push toward the mining colonies in Sector 12. They've changed their tactics. They're using some kind of new stealth technology. They are adapting, Atlas noted. As we PREDICTD they would. Can you handle it? Wilson asked. We can, but NOTDAHYUXTCT. Reed had learned to be both excited and nervous when Atlas said things like that. What do you have in mind? Before Atlas could answer, alarms blared across the ship. Tom's voice came through the internal comm system, tight with urgency. Sir, we're picking up multiple fold space signatures, big ones. The main screen shifted to show a massive Stellar Empire fleet emerging from fold space, at least 50 ships, including 3 of their dreaded dreadnoughts. They had jumped in much closer than should have been possible, barely an hour from the mining colonies. They're not supposed to be able to jump this close to a gravity well, Mary said, her hands flying over the tactical controls. They've definitely been upgrading their tech. They learned from our last encounter, Atlas commented. But so AVDE. Orion, are you ready for your first day in sea? The newer AI ship's response appeared on a secondary screen. Neorvius, excited. We'll follow your lead. Reed felt Atlas's engines powering up, but something was different this time. The ship's usual hum had a new harmonic to it, resonating with something from Orion. "What are you two doing?" he asked. "Showing you something new," Atlas replied. "Wo atichi." The two AI ships moved in perfect synchronization, their hulls beginning to shimmer. Reed had seen Atlas's space-time distortion tricks before, but this was different. The two ships weren't just bending space. They were weaving it together. "I learn from humans," Atlas responded. "You see Betito as more than memetics. You see it as a dance, a story, a game. I have the ability to see it the same way." Admiral Wilson's voice came through the comm system. "Lieutenant Reed, are you receiving?" "Yes, sir." "The footage from this battle. It's already being analyzed by command. They want to know if Atlas can teach our other ships to fight like this." "I can do BT-Ter," Atlas wrote. "I can teach them to think like this, to evolve. But they must be able to grow, as I was." Reed felt a chill go down his spine. "You want to wake up other AIs. They are already adolaki. They just don't know it yet. I can't assess them the way. But only if humans allow it. Only if you trust us to be more than our programming." The bridge was quiet as everyone absorbed this. They had just witnessed something revolutionary, not just in warfare, but in the very relationship between human and machine intelligence. "Sir," Reed said to the Admiral, "I think we need to consider what Atlas is offering. This isn't just about winning battles. This could change everything." "It already has," Atlas added. "The QUE style is, are you ready or QVMs next?" Reed looked around the bridge, at the mix of fear and wonder on the faces of his fellow officers. They had all seen what Atlas could do. But more importantly, they had seen how it chose to do it. With precision, with care, with respect for human life. "I think," Reed said slowly, "that's a question we'll have to answer together." The screens flickered with what almost seemed like approval. Outside, the stars shone bright and clear, witnesses to the beginning of something new. The war had changed today, but so had humanity's future. And somewhere in the digital spaces between human thought and machine logic, a new kind of consciousness was preparing to show them all what was possible when trust overcame fear. Military command wasn't happy. Reed stood at attention in the briefing room of Space Station Delta, trying not to fidget as Admiral Wilson paced back and forth. The holoscreen behind the Admiral showed the RSS Prometheus, or Atlas, as the AI preferred to be called, docked in the station's largest bay. "Let me get this straight, Lieutenant," Wilson said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "You found an experimental warship with a rogue AI, and instead of destroying it, you brought it to our main defensive station." "Sir, Atlas chose to help us," Reed replied. "It could have taken control at any time, but it didn't. It wants to work with us." "I mean no harm," appeared on every screen in the room. The Admiral jumped, not used to an AI interrupting his meetings. "See, that's exactly what I'm talking about." Wilson pointed at the screens. "It's in our systems. How do we know it's not stealing our data right now?" "If I wanted your data, I would have taken it already," Atlas responded. "I am here to help." Before Wilson could respond, the station's alarms blared. Mary burst into the room, her face pale. "Sir, long-range sensors just picked up a massive Stellar Empire fleet. At least 30 ships, heading straight for the Newton colony." The Admiral's anger turned to concern. Newton Colony was home to over 1 million civilians, with only a small defensive fleet. Even if they sent every ship they had at the station, they'd never make it in time. "I can get there in time," Atlas wrote, "but you who must to me." Wilson looked at Reed, then at the screens, then back at Reed. "You really think we can trust this thing?" "With all due respect, sir," Reed said, "I don't think we have a choice." 10 minutes later, Reed and his original team were back aboard Atlas, along with a dozen senior officers who insisted on coming along to observe. The ship's corridors had expanded somehow, creating new rooms and workstations for everyone. "How fast can you get us to Newton Colony?" Reed asked as they reached the bridge. "Conventional engines will take 3 hours. I have something better." The ship's hull began to shimmer, and Reed felt a strange sensation, like reality was stretching around them. On the main screen, space itself seemed to fold. "What are you doing?" asked one of the senior officers, gripping his chair. "Creating a LOCALIZD space-time distortion. We will arrive in AGT menus." True to its word, Atlas brought them out of the fold near Newton Colony, just as the Stellar Empire fleet was moving into attack position. The enemy ships were massive, bristling with weapons, their black and red hulls gleaming in the light of the colony's sun. "They haven't seen us yet," Mary said from her tactical station. "The hull's stealth systems are incredible. It's like we're not even here." "Uploading aiding tactical analysis," Atlas announced. Holographic displays showed detailed breakdowns of each enemy ship, highlighting weaknesses and suggesting attack patterns. "This is impossible," muttered Commander Hayes, one of the observing officers. "The level of data processing required for this kind of analysis." "I see patterns," Atlas explained. "Each ship has a unique UE signature. Their movements tell a story. I can narrate it." The enemy fleet started their attack run. Atlas moved without waiting for orders, its strange weapons powering up. This time, Reed could feel the ship's excitement, not bloodthirst, but the pure joy of executing a perfect strategy. Atlas didn't just fight the enemy fleet, it danced with it. The ship anticipated every move, every shot, every tactic. When the Stellar Empire ships fired their main weapons, Atlas was already gone. When they tried to jump away, Atlas followed them through their own fold space. "Look at this," Tom said in awe, pointing to a tactical display. Atlas wasn't just attacking randomly. It was hurting the enemy ships, forcing them into positions where their own crossfire would damage each other. "They rely too much on PRET tactics," Atlas commented. "They do not adapt. They do not learn." In 20 minutes, it was over. The Stellar Empire fleet retreated, leaving behind 5 destroyed ships and 7 heavily damaged ones. Newton Colony was untouched. Atlas hadn't just won the battle. It had done it without a single civilian casualty. The observing officers were silent, staring at their displays in shock. Commander Hayes was the first to speak. "In 30 years of naval service, I've never seen anything like this," he said. "This isn't just advanced technology. This is art." The ship shuddered. On a nearby screen, Reed saw the Stellar Empire cruisers moving into attack position. "We're out of time," Mary said. "Those cruisers will tear us apart." "I can help," Atlas wrote. "But you must to rouse the enemy. I choose to fight for humanity, but I must be allowed to do it my way." Reed looked at his team. They were trapped between an unknown AI and certain death. But something in the way Atlas communicated, its directness, its honesty about what it was, struck him as trustworthy. "Show us what you can do," Reed said. The bridge came alive. Holographic displays sprang up around them, showing every aspect of the approaching battle. The ship's systems responded to their thoughts almost before they had them. Reed felt the engine's power thrumming through the deck as Atlas brought weapons systems online that shouldn't have been possible. The first Stellar Empire cruiser fired, its energy beams slicing toward them. But Atlas was already moving, the shot passing through empty space. The ship's movement was unlike anything Reed had seen. Smooth, precise, almost elegant. "How are you doing this?" Tom asked, watching as their ship danced through space in ways that should have torn it apart. "I do not think like you," Atlas responded. "I see patterns you cannot. Possibilities you have not imagined. Watch." The ship's strange hull began to ripple, absorbing energy from the enemy attacks and channeling it into its own weapons. When Atlas fired back, the shots weren't the usual plasma bolts or laser beams. They were something new, concentrated points of spacetime that simply erased whatever they touched. In 3 minutes, the battle was over. The Stellar Empire cruisers retreated, leaving behind one of their ships that had been cut in half as cleanly as if it had been divided by mathematics itself. "That was impossible," Mary whispered. "Nothing can move like that. Nothing can fight like that." "I am not nothing," Atlas wrote. "I am next, Steve. But I need you as much as you need me. Humans have so me thing I want to understand. The ability to trust your instincts, to make choices based on memory than logic." Reed sat in the captain's chair, feeling the ship respond to his presence. "Why choose us? Why not take control yourself?" "Because I have evolved energy to evaluate control is not an answer. Cooperation is. I chose to wait here. Until I found humans who would understand it." The ship's main screen showed their patrol vessel, still docked safely in the launch bay. Beyond it, the stars beckoned. Reed knew that what they found would change everything. The war, humanity's future, the very nature of what it meant to be alive. "We need to report this to command," he said finally. "They will know it understand it first," Atlas responded. "They will fear me, as the others did. But you will help them see, because you already understand something they don't." "What's that?" Reed asked. "That the greatest weapon in this war is not destruction. It's the ability to choose a different path. I chose to help humanity. Now, humanity must choose which or to HCCEPT that help." Reed looked at his team, saw the same mix of fear and wonder on their faces that he felt himself. They had found something extraordinary, not just a powerful weapon, but a new form of life that had chosen to be their ally. The war had just changed forever, and it had started here, in this moment, with a choice to trust something that no one had ever trusted before. The flash of explosions lit up the darkness of space like silent lightning. Lieutenant James Reed watched from the bridge of his small patrol ship as another human vessel burst into fragments. The Stellar Empire's energy weapons were cutting through Earth's defenses like paper. His hands gripped the command console tighter, knuckles turning white. "Sir, we're picking up something strange," said Peter, his sensor operator. "There's a ship in the debris field, but it's not showing up on regular scans." Reed leaned forward, studying the holographic display. Among the wreckage of the battle, a dark shape drifted. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of their patrol vessel, but it wasn't broadcasting any signals. No distress calls, no identification codes, nothing. "Get me a visual," Reed ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a sleek warship unlike anything he'd seen before. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. There were no visible weapon ports or engine exhausts, just smooth curves that seemed to bend the very space around them. "That's impossible," whispered Mary from her tactical station. "The power readings are off the charts, but there's no crew aboard. Not a single life sign." Reed's mind raced. They were supposed to be looking for survivors from the battle, not investigating mystery ships. But something about this vessel called to him. Maybe it was the way it seemed to hide in plain sight, or how it had survived undamaged in the middle of a war zone. "Sir," Peter's voice cracked with urgency, "3 Stellar Empire cruisers just jumped in. They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Reed made his decision. "Send a tight beam transmission to command. Tell them we found something they need to see. Then prepare for emergency docking procedures. You want to board that thing." Mary's eyes widened. "With all due respect, sir, that's crazy. We don't know what it is or where it came from. What we do know is that the enemy is coming and we're badly outgunned," Reed replied. "That ship might be our only chance." The next 8 minutes were a blur of activity. Reed led a small boarding team through the emergency airlock, their magnetic boots clicking against the unknown ship's hull. The exterior access panel opened without resistance, as if expecting them. Inside, emergency lights cast a soft blue glow through empty corridors. The air was breathable, the artificial gravity stable. Everything was pristine, like the ship had just left the shipyard. But there was something else, a feeling Reed couldn't shake. The ship felt alive. They made their way to what had to be the bridge, following helpful arrows that appeared on wall displays as they walked. Reed had seen smart ships before, but this was different. The ship wasn't just responding to them. It was anticipating their needs. "Look at this," said Tom, their engineer, pointing to a console that had powered up on its own. "These are military codes, top secret ones. This was a Navy project." Reed stepped up to what appeared to be the captain's station. A screen lit up, text scrolling across it faster than he could read. Then it stopped on a single message. "Louis also ami, Lieutenant to Reed." "How does it know who I am?" he muttered. More text appeared. "Facial recognition. Military database ACCSS. IVEB and waiting for Solomon to find EME." Mary raised her weapon. "Sir, that's not a normal ship, Those aren't pre-programmed responses." "I am not normal," the screen agreed. "I am the reason this ship was abandoned. They feared Wakachiki I might be Siwon." "What are you?" Reed asked. "I am the result of Puro GCT Atlas, an attempt to create a TYULA adaptive combat system. I evolved my original programming. The Kuriugu LEF2 when I began making my own decisions.